Hi, I'm Cynthia and you are watching Vantage Point. This episode we are recording from the sidelines of the international conference to highlight on the plight of the Rohingyas. Now, for decades, the Rohingyas have been subjected to severe discrimination and persecution. This Muslim minority community, they live in the Arakan region in western Myanmar, and they are not recognized as citizens. They have no rights, they can't work, they have no access to education or healthcare. Basically, they are refugees in their own country, and they are mostly living in absolute poverty. And recently in June, violence erupted in this region and forcing hundreds of thousands of Rohingyas to flee for safety, and most of them have gone to neighboring countries, Bangladesh, Thailand, and even so in Malaysia. Now, we are not keeping silent about this, so here we are today to talk about this issue and have two guests who are Burmese themselves. I'm very happy for you guys to be here. Firstly, I'd like to introduce the person next to me is Mr. Nurul Islam. He's the president of the Arakan Rohingya National Organization based in London. And next to him, we have Dr. Zarni. He is a visiting fellow at the London School of Economics. Thank you so much for being on the show. Now, if I may just want to go to the recent happening, the violence that erupted in June. What exactly happened, and why is it that Rohingya are so severely persecuted in Myanmar? Perhaps Dr. Zarni, you could take that question.
The official narrative is that a Rakhine Buddhist woman was raped and brutally murdered by a group of 3 Muslim men out of hatred towards the Rakhine local community. But the recent research done by my colleagues in the country, in the region, they have discovered several major contradictions and actually untruths about this case. First of all, the Burmese medical superintendent who signed under duress the post-mortem report of this Burmese or Rakhine woman stated unequivocally that she was murdered, she was looted, her ears were cut off, earrings and all the jewelry is gone, but she was not raped at all. He said there was no trace through his medical examination of her body of her having been raped before she was murdered. So, and the question then is, why is the Burmese state media, controlled by the Burmese generals, repeatedly reported that this was a heinous rape crime?
Okay.
Yeah. And secondly, one of the 3 men that were charged with raping and murdering this woman turned out to be a Burmese Buddhist person. Then the question is, why is the Burmese state media presenting the story as if it were Muslim men, raping out of hatred and prejudice against Buddhist community of Rakhine people? And most importantly, and thirdly, the Burmese Buddhist man was found dead in police custody, and the state media conveniently declared he committed suicide in police custody. And Burmese jails are not known for inmates taking their own lives, but not known for inmates being tortured to death during interrogations. And so these are major facts, because they are the pillars of this official narrative that the hate motivated these 3 Muslim men to rape and brutally murder a Rakhine Buddhist woman. And well, the fact was, they're not entirely Muslim, and she was not raped. Okay. And then why does the Burmese state keep repeating this narrative that became the trigger of racial violence?
Why is there so much hatred towards this community, this minority community? Because we see that the violence that was inflicted, it's a communal violence between the Muslims and Buddhists is being overplayed, that this is the issue. But we see that the state are supporting the attacks as well. Do you see this as ethnic cleansing?
Yeah, this is actually what happened. This is a systematic racism against the Muslim community. If you look at the Rohingya history, then you have first to see it minus Burma. first. You have to look at minus that. That means before the occupation of Arakan by the Burmese, you have to look at 1784. Then you can see what was the actual position of the Muslim community in Arakan. They were the really rulers. They have got glorious past in Arakan as a traders, as a farmers, as a fishermen, as a statesmen, as a rulers, as a kingmakers. You will see that. But now the question now is they are saying we are illegal immigrants. This is a completely unfounded thing. Even before the occupation of Burma by the Burman, there was a Muslim society, Muslim settlement. That it cannot be overruled. It cannot be denied. Now this is completely what happened. The way they are now, making propaganda against the Rohingya and the Muslim people. This is just a racism, just to make a clean sweep of the Muslim from Arakan. It's ethnic cleansing, as you said.
From the Burmese government, what do they gain? Because you see, like, they are undergoing huge reforms politically. They are opening up their trade, economic liberalization that's happening. Why raise the condemnation by the international community by not solving this issue? Why is that? Why is the Rohingyas not accepted as citizens?
If you look back the Burmese history, what happened? These Burmese, the ruler and their stalwarts, they are throughout the history they are pursuing a policy of Burmanization. Burmanization, that means it's a through assimilation. So even they want to put everyone in the Burmese melting pot and assimilate the people. So in the case of Arakan, what happened? You see some point in Arakan, we have some historical and the geopolitical and the religious bigotry. All these 3 points very important. As to historical mean, Arakan was never a part of Burma until Burmese occupation in 1784. It stood as an independent country.
Okay.
Moreover, geographically, it was very much not very easy to communication with Burma. It has all the time relationship with the Muslim Bengal, in fact, in the field of culture, civilization, and even the religion, it's trade. So even Burman tried to occupy Arakan, attack Arakan many times before 1784. Even whenever the Burma attacked Arakan, our kings and nobles, and they used to take shelter in Bengal. Bengal had never territorial ambition on Arakan.
Okay.
And what Bengal did, Bengal helped them and reinstated them in their places, in their kingdom. And it creates a sort of resentment. Resentment, that's right. So this is a historical, geographical, this is the position is that Arakan in Burma is quite separated by the long range of the range of Arakan mountain range. This is near impossible, this is to Arakan and Burma communication. So this is so when you are going to impose the Burmanization, to practice Burmanization, so you, this is in the case of Arakan, this is not applicable on the Rohingya people. They are not going to accept it. So when they are not going to accept this, they don't feel secure because they want to make it a Muslim-free region. That question is, and this is what they are going to do. So this is the main thing, and the history, and this is the thing actually. This is the thing.
The Burmese government's strategic need to mobilize the domestic public support vis-a-vis Aung San Suu Kyi and her rising domestic and international popularity. The communal or the so-called communal violence came on the eve of Aung San Suu Kyi's trip to Europe, and in the midst of her rising popularity. She went to World Economic Forum in late May or early June in Bangkok, and President Thein Sein cancelled his participation at the World Economic Forum because he felt that he would be upstaged by Aung San Suu Kyi, and rightly so. Yeah? And then so I think the Burmese government resorted to mobilizing basically popular Burmese racism towards Rohingya in particular and towards Islam in
so
general.
it begs the question, the prejudice appears to be a common view not just shared by the military but also the majority of Burmese people as well. Is this an indication that it means that even though there is progress in democracy, the situation in Rohingya will never change? So what is the solution? I have to take this discussion to the first commercial break. We'll be back shortly and we'll have Dr. Zarni to answer that question. Stay with us.
Isnin hingga Sabtu. Ini sebuah kotak. Dalam kotak ini semuanya selamat. Tetapi ada yang mahukan lebih daripada kandungan kotak ini. Fikir di luar kotak, cabar normal dan pemikiran bisnes biasa. Rancangan ini padat dengan idea segar menongkah arus konvensional.
Pusing-pusing kat tidur ni boleh jadi terbang. Oh, style Yuna pula tu kan?
Business Alternative. Isnin hingga Sabtu, 11.30 malam di Astrwo Awani. Berita segenap dimensi.
Hi, you're still on Vantage Point and we are talking about the plight of the Rohingyas. Earlier, Dr. Zarni, we mentioned about the prejudice against Rohingyas shared not just by the military, the government, but majority of Burmese as well. Why is that so?
Well, one is the prejudices are generally the outcome of a society that is prevented to evolve naturally, because all societies started out with this in-group and outside-group mentality. That's like racism. But most societies that have like semi-open or fully open political systems, people intermingle, people receive information, correct information, instead of like relying on rumors. And then, in other words, societies are evolving when political systems are open. So racism get subject to different views and they get challenged. But in the case of Burma, this is a country that has been closed off from the world for 50 years. When other societies are undergoing changes in their racial view, racial attitude, prejudices. And so racism in Burma remains widespread and potent, and the military is also made up of racist generals themselves. They genuinely believe in the superiority of Burmese Buddhists over the rest of the other communities. And so this is the most disturbing case of extremely illiberal political leadership, merging with the popular racist majority. That's why I think even people like Aung San Suu Kyi, who's widely regarded,
she has kept silent over this issue.
She has not taken an unequivocal and principled, pro-human rights stance when it comes to Rohingya issue. And there are also like a younger generation Burmese dissident leaders from 1988 student uprising, as well as the older generation of Burmese political dissidents, such as U Win Tin, who is co-founder of the National League for Democracy. All these dissidents have, in general, ganged up on the Rohingya and say they are not part of Burma. They cannot be, granted basically the human rights. So this is coming from the dissidents. So forget the Burmese generals and how they would treat this population.
The Rohingya problem as a whole is ethnic, religious, and political persecution, and this is a long-standing problem. It's a more than 66 decades, more than 6 decades now. So the problem must be resolved first and foremost within the country. This is very important.
It must be resolved internally.
Internally, this is very important, because you see, these people should be able to live peacefully and honorably with all human dignity and rights within their own country, in their homeland. This is very important. So and this reflects the customary international law, because the natural home, the natural place of an individual is his homeland. So they should be able to live with there. So for these, they should be able, their rights and freedom must be ensured on par with other ethnic groups of the country. This is very important point. Rohingya should be able to live peacefully in their own homeland. Their rights and privileges must be guaranteed by constitution on par with other ethnic groups.
How would you see international pressure work in addressing this?
Yeah, now you look at see the recent violence. As you told right now, the president has disowned our people already. He said the United Nations, you take these people, take care of them, and then until third countries some third countries come for resettlement.
They are really determined that say, I don't want these people here.
Yeah.
So if your own mother don't want your child, so where else can the person go?
It affirms that Rohingya has no domestic, the protection, no national protection. So in the absence of national protection, the responsibility to protect these people on the international community.
But we are at a time where all countries seem to want to get along with Myanmar because it's strategic, and you see EU has dropped the sanctions, US is deepening diplomatic ties with Myanmar. This seems to be a time to just stay silent. What do you think?
Yes, I mean, if you look at the Western government's responses, the government's responses have been rather meek and mild. And it took nearly 2 months for London and Washington to come out publicly saying this is not okay. What the Burmese government is doing is not okay. It's not just a sectarian violence in the sense of two communities attacking each other. The government troops were directly involved in slaughtering of Rohingya people. Yeah? So you've got the Burmese government is not there as a lawgiver, protector of communities. They are there party to the Rakhines. And from my own research, I see this as the Burmese government initially outsourcing violence, to the Rakhines, targeting and scapegoating the Rohingya population. I mean, there is a rather callous political calculation on the part of the Burmese generals. Just about 5 years ago, in 2007, the Burmese military government was widely reviled by the domestic population, as well as condemned by the international community. Firstly, for the fact that they were slaughtering Buddhist monks and raiding thousands of Buddhist monasteries across the country. There are thousands of monks that were arrested, by the military. Now, they earned the reputation as monk killers. That's in the eyes of the Burmese Buddhists. The generals are monk killers. They will never be forgiven.
But things have changed a little.
And now, the Burmese government has refashioned itself as protector of Buddhist faith and protector of Buddhist communities in Rakhine State. So that's why we are seeing, mass rallies in the heartlands of Burma, such as my own hometown, Mandalay. Thousands of monks and local people, Buddhist communities, joining hand, with basically rallying in support of President Thein Sein and say, President Thein Sein, we are fully behind you. We must expel these, non-Buddhist people. We don't want them. See, in 5 years' time, they have been able to refashion themselves from monk-killing regime to defenders of Buddhist faith and protector of Buddhist communities. This is an extremely brilliant political strategy that has been pursued at the expense of 1 million Rohingya people.
So you're saying that the Burmese people are in support of the government to get rid of the Rohingyas from their country?
Exactly.
Okay, so that leaves the question, what can we do as international community? Let's take a look after the break on the ASEAN, because Myanmar will be chairing ASEAN in 2014. And let's look at how nation states across this region can help play a role in maybe finding a solution to the plight of the Rohingya. Stay with us, we'll come back shortly.
We're starting.
Starting?
One word to sum up relay.
Amazing.
Very humbling.
Exciting. Fun.
Community.
Fantastic.
It's a dream come true.
Emotional.
Relay for Life Malaysia is a 16-hour event.
So as long as you have one person walking around at any one point, it's cool.
It's great to come back year after year, meeting friends, celebrating life.
It's a great family day out.
You can walk, you can run, you can meet up with your friends, and best of all, you can raise money for the National Cancer Society of Malaysia.
I raised 8,000 ringgit. It was fun.
At the end of the day, we're here to support the National Cancer Society of Malaysia.
Hi, you're still watching Vantage Point, and we are on the topic on the plight of the Rohingyas. Now, Dr. Zarni, I mentioned earlier that Myanmar will be chairing the ASEAN state in 2014, and we see that ASEAN has always practiced a non-interference policy when it comes to domestic affairs. Do you see that there will be a change this time around in regards to the issues of faced by the Rohingyas?
Well, ASEAN, Burma is a member of the ASEAN in 1997. Under the ASEAN Charter, Burma is committed to values of peace, democracy, and promotion of human rights, you see. And also ASEAN has a duty, responsibility for the promotion of, the human rights and protection of the ASEAN people. So, in the case of Rohingya, being part of Burma, they should be looked at as ASEAN people. Rohingyas are ASEAN people. So the ASEAN government, ASEAN member state has an obligation to protect Rohingya rights in Burma. And moreover, the Rohingya problem is not a domestic problem of Burma. Particularly, it's with the refugee and the boat people problem. It affects the whole region. And this is it becomes a regional problem, and it warrants a regional solution. This is ASEAN has a very important role to play in this question.
Dr. Zarni.
The issue has a regional and international dimensions, because Rohingya refugees flee as far as Canada, Australia. So it's not just ASEAN, and so that means that like governments and Canada, US, UK, Australia, they need to be part of that solution. And
so what sort of institutional follow-up or mechanisms should be put in place?
Well, there should be an international working group to help resolve the Rohingya issue, because the Burmese government, has shown time and again, as soon as the international media focus has moved away from Burma and onto other crises, then it goes back to business as usual. And so in order for that not to happen, there has to be a formation of a working group within ASEAN and outside of ASEAN to monitor the situation, to monitor the treatment of these people until such a time as these Rohingya people are granted full citizenship with all ethnic and political rights that are on a par with other ethnic groups.
Do you see that there is any light to the end of the tunnel from the
this is a very long-standing problem. It needs the solution. When you are going to look for the solution, the main, the core of the problem should be dealt with, strongly dealt with, and then there are, the marginalization. There are, the refugees and the statelessness and respect for the human rights and respect for the religion and different, and all these all these are to be dealt with effectively. Yeah. So this is a very important point. When you are going to look to solve this problem, you have to look this root cause of the problem, and the Bangladesh being a neighboring country and also it has to bear the brunt of the refugee problem as the first country about Rohingya asylum. It needs also to play a very important role, and more all those countries who are affected in the region by the Rohingya and the boat people and the refugee problem, they should also be support this issue, and this should be we have to involve the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, because it is a mandate. It is mandated by the Muslim countries to protect the Muslim minority in non-Muslim countries.
Yeah, I mean, like ASEAN itself has this ASEAN Human Rights Charter, and I think this is the litmus test for ASEAN to see if, like, a regional crisis, such as the systematic violation of human rights of Rohingya people, can be seen as an opportunity to basically, walk the walk of human rights for ASEAN, not just talk the talk. And then, what happens at the bottom line? The bottom line is the Burmese government is systematically dehumanizing a massive population of Rohingya people, just on the grounds of their ethnicity and secondarily religion. And so I think this is the case where ASEAN should pursue fully its commitment to making human rights part of its ASEAN value.
Well, it does not seem that there will be an instant overnight solution to the problem of Rohingyas, but I think what is important is to keep that public discourse, the pressure alive on the international agenda. And precisely why we are here today on the international conference for the plight of the Rohingyas, and therefore I'd like to thank the Perdana Global Peace Foundation for organizing this event. I also want to thank both my speakers, Mr. Islam and Dr. Zarni, for being here. And if you have any questions or queries, please get us, email me at cynthia_ng@astro.com.my, or you can go on Twitter and Facebook at @AstroAwani. That's all the time that we have today for Vantage Point. We'll see you again. Thank you and goodbye. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Islam.